Hey guys, how's it going? For this tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to change the color of an image texture for any specific shade of color that you want for use in Blender or any other 3D program that uses image textures. And we're going to also be using Photoshop for this method to change the image texture. I'm also going to be showcasing how this is going to work using the couch right here on screen. So let's hop over to Photoshop and get started on that. In Photoshop, I have opened the image texture for the couch here. I also googled some modern color palettes by popular paint companies like Behr or Sherwin-Williams, and this color palette I thought was good for using on the couch, but we're not actually going to need to look at this right now, so I'm just going to close it and we'll use it later. But back to our original image, you're going to want to copy it and paste it twice, so you have 3 layers down here. You're going to want to name the second layer average color and the third layer new color. So I'm just going to make the new color layer invisible here so we can see our average color layer. And with the average color layer selected, we're going to go to filter, blur, and average. And this is just going to give you the average color of the entire image, which we're going to need when we're replacing the color later and using the replace color tool. Using the replace color tool can be a little bit tricky, and you might find that you have to play around a little bit if you don't entirely know how it works. So I'm going to try to break it down in a simple way so you can remember which colors go where when you're adding a new color to your image texture. So you're going to want to start by using the eyedropper tool, which can be found here on the toolbar, or by pressing I as the hotkey. And using the eyedropper, you're going to select the average color right there. Now I'm going to open my new color layer and make that visible so we can see it again. And I'm also just going to turn on my color palette so I can select a new color for the couch. So this is the part that can be a little bit tricky. When you're setting a new color for your image texture, you're going to want to make sure the new color is set as the background on the foreground background color switch here, and the original color of the image texture is set as the foreground. If you're using an eyedropper like I am on a color palette, you're going to want to temporarily switch the background and foreground by clicking this arrow here, or you can also press X as a hotkey to do that. And the reason I'm doing this is because the foreground color is the one that gets changed when you use the eyedropper tool, the way I'm doing here. So in this case, I think I'm going to start with green. Now that I have my green selected, I'm going to switch that back to the background. So my foreground color again is set to the original color of the image texture. I'm just going to hide the color palette for a sec. Now before we go to the replace color tool, you're going to want to make sure that you have the hex code copied for your new color. If you don't know what a hex code is, all colors have their own different code. Copying the hex code lets you paste the exact color. Now to go to the replace color tool, we're going to have our new color layer selected and go to image, adjustments, and replace color. And you're actually going to want to make sure that preview is enabled, otherwise you're not going to see the effects that this has. And in this tool, you want to make sure that the original color of your image texture is set in the top right color box here, and the result box in the bottom right is going to be set as your new color, which is where we're actually going to paste the hex code of the new color that we just copied. And you can see that it actually changes the color of the image here already. And if you don't have preview on, you're not going to actually see it make any difference. You can also change the saturation and lightness sliders if you want to get a bit of a different look, or if the color doesn't look the way you want. Some colors may not translate as well on an image texture, so using these sliders might help it look a bit more natural. I think bringing the lightness down a little bit makes it look good. And once you're okay with your color, you can press OK. And here we have a ready to use image texture that I can now put on the couch, so I can now make the couch green. But I do still want to make 2 more shades for the image texture, just so I can swap them out on the couch and see how each one looks, see what I like best. So to do that, I'm just going to copy the original image again, paste it maybe 2 more times. Maybe I'll have 2 more different color shades, and I'll just move these to the top so we can see them. And I'm also going to rename these layers new color 1 and 2 maybe. Maybe I'll rename them all as the colors they are actually once I finish. I'm also just going to make new color 2 temporarily invisible so I can see new color 1, and we're just going to go through the same process again. We already have the average color for this image on our color switcher right here as the foreground from before, so I can just open up my color palette again and test out a new color. I'm going to switch the background back to the foreground again just so I can select a new color with my eyedropper, and I'm switching that with X. I'll pick that yellow maybe. With my yellow selected, I'm now going to set the original color back to the foreground, keeping my new color here as the background color. We'll hide that. With new color layer selected, go back to image, adjustments, replace color, make sure I have preview turned on. Looks like I actually forgot to copy the hex code, so I'm gonna have to go back and do that. I'll copy that back to image, adjustments, replace color. I forget to copy that code all the time, so make sure you remember to do it. This one looks a little bit too bright, maybe a bit too washed out. I think turning the lightness down helps. Maybe a little bit less saturation, but not too much less. I'll just leave it as it was. I think that yellow is good. Now I'm just going to make my new color 2 layer visible again, and I'm going to do that whole process one more time. I think I'll go with a blue this time. Set the background to foreground, select the blue. Going to make sure I copy my hex code, and I'm going to use X to switch this as the background color again. Image, adjustments, replace color, and in the bottom right box, the result box, I'm gonna paste the hex code here. I don't really think I need to play around with this color. I think that looks good. I guess I can rename these now. So we have green, yellow, and blue now. I could keep going and making more, but I think that these 3 are gonna be good to go test out. So I'm just gonna export these pictures quickly and head back over to Blender. In Blender, I'm just going to select the couch, go over to the shading tab and look at its material. And I'm going to swap out the original brown image texture here to try out some of the new colors that I made. So we're going to look at the blue, green, and yellow image textures that we just finished in Photoshop. You can see we have the green couch color there. That one actually looks pretty nice. It also still looks pretty natural, doesn't look really out of place. And you're still able to keep that original fabric texture that came within the image texture. We can also try it out and see how the blue looks. That one looks okay too. Maybe a little bit light, but we're just looking at this in the material view, so it probably looks different in render. Yeah, that's not bad. We can also see how the yellow looks. So I think I really like the yellow shade too. But as you can see, this is a simple way where you can easily go into Photoshop, quickly change the color of an image texture and try out different shades. Rather than playing around with the color ramp, you can set it to specific hex codes, even make a whole color library for them if you wanted to do that. So that's going to be it for this tutorial. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. You can also leave in the comments any tutorials you might like to see in the future, or if you have any questions, you can also leave those in the comments. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.